Consider this a public service announcement for you guys. I've been covering Graceful Explosion Machine on Go Nintendo. I've been posting up the trailers and tweets and footage and screens, whatever may be out there. But for me personally, I just wasn't that interested in the game. I don't know what it was. It's not that it looked bad. It's not that I honestly don't know what it was. It just wasn't lighting a spark in me. I had the opportunity to check out a review copy, so I hopped on that. And I can tell you that if I didn't check out this game, I would have made a really big mistake, because I'm enjoying it way more than I expected when I first fired it up. And I actually think it's something pretty special. So hopefully through this review, and while you're checking out this footage, I can convince you to maybe check this game out if you were on the fence about it, or check it out if you don't know anything about it, because like I said, I feel like I would have made a mistake if I didn't hop in on this game. Graceful Explosion Machine is a really easy game to explain. You're a ship, you fly around levels, you blast enemies, and when they're all blown up, the level's over and you go to the next. That's all there is to it. And in that simplicity, there is a ton of fun. You start off early on in the tutorial levels, and they teach you, like, this is how you control your ship, this is how you shoot enemies, and then it's pretty much, okay, go ahead, that's it. So there's really no learning curve to the game other than, like, what weapons your ship has and that, you know, how it maneuvers. That's about it. But the fun of the game really lies within that simplicity, because while it is easy to do what you want to do, fly around, shoot enemies and stuff like that, the challenge is in the amount of enemies that are thrown at you, the type of enemies, and how you strategically use what you have to survive a level. So you get 4 weapons on your ship. You get kind of like a regular, just like shooting weapon. I don't know how else to describe it. You just hold the button and it shoots like bullets. Then you get one that is a laser. It's like a sharpshooter laser. You get another one that is like a swoop around your ship. It kind of looks like a shield, but it's actually like an arc that flies around your ship that takes out enemies. You hit the button once and it swoops around once. And then there's another button that you can hold down and it blasts out like squares that you can aim the direction that they shoot in. So if you're holding the button and you're pushing up to the left, they go up to the left, and you can also hold all different directions to make the bullets go in every direction. So you use all those weapons together to take down the enemies that are trying to blow up your ship. They're just trying to blow you up and you're trying to blow them up. That's it. So it seems pretty simple, right? You just pick the weapon you like the most, you fire away, and that's it. You know, level's over, you go to the next. That would be the case if the game didn't have one more mechanic that completely changes how the gameplay works. Your ship has some sort of like energy meter, and depending on what weapons you're using, that energy meter can be eaten up. And also, depending on how long you use a weapon, it can overheat, which means you can't use it until it recharges. There are, when you blow up enemies, they shoot out little yellow diamonds, and you collect those to refill like the energy meter, which will give you another shot with your sniper laser, or another explosion of squares out of your ship, stuff like that. So you have to pick and choose as you're going on the fly what weapons are best for what enemy, and also you can't just lay into them forever with that weapon because it will overheat and you'll be out of it. You have to let it recharge. So it's all about maneuvering around the enemies that are there, finding the best weapon that you can use to get out of, you know, whatever situation you're in, and then switching to other ones on the fly. So as you're going about doing this, you have to look at every enemy that's on the screen. You have to look at everything that's in your way and figure out the best way for you to carve your path through it with the weapons that you have without overusing all of them, and then collecting the little yellow diamonds or squares, whatever you want to call them, and recharging your ship on the go. Then to add another layer to that, just to entice you while you're playing, you get a score multiplier for every time you shoot an enemy, and then you shoot another enemy after it. There's a little timer that you have in between when you shoot an enemy and when you shoot the next one. So if you let time go by too much in between, your combo drops back down to its base level. So it's possible to go through an entire level without having your combo drop, depending on, you know, how you manage your weapons, what you're shooting when, and how you stagger things out. And obviously the more you do that, the better score you'll have. And then that's important if you want to take on the leaderboard aspect of the game, because that's a huge element to it, and I'm sure a lot of people will be enticed by that. There's leaderboards. There's leaderboards for every level. So if you want to have any chance of getting on those leaderboards, towards the top anyway, you're going to have to learn how to maneuver about and keep that combo going. Otherwise, you really won't stand a chance of getting on there. So it gives you incentive to replay levels, learn new strategies, and better get around everything that's in your way to keep that combo going. And it's a really unique motivator and really fun because it keeps you coming back. It keeps you saying, I could do better than that. I think I could squeeze out a couple more points in this level. Something that happens very, very early on is that you see that the levels aren't like a self-contained screen like you might expect from this kind of game. There's a definite region, like there's an area of where the level exists, but the left and right hand sides of the screen are basically endless, and they continue to loop around the same area. So you can continue to fly right or left as long as you want, and all it's going to do is loop the level back over and over and over again. So that's not going to add in new enemies, that's just going to keep the enemies there that are in the level to begin with. But, you know, if there's a whole bunch of enemies on your left and you're trying to get away from them, you can speed over to the right, and because the level loops over again, you're going to come back out on the left and you can shoot them from behind. So you always have an option of getting, or almost always I should say, you almost always have an option of getting away from enemies because the levels are looping like that. So you're hardly ever stuck in positions where you're pressed up against a wall and you can't get out. There are certain levels, few and far between, where you have circumstances like that, and that's just for, you know, a different challenge. But the looping level idea is really interesting because it really lends itself to how you go and flow through a level and plays into the strategy of it, because you know you always have an out. The thing is working through the enemies to get to it. So as you're in levels have waves to them, so you'll clear out a wave of enemies, and there's a meter that eventually pops up that lets you know you're on like the last chunk of enemies in that wave. And then you get like a very quick cooldown period where there's no enemies to worry about, and then the next wave starts up. If you get hit, it's not game over right away. You have like lives, we'll say, or I don't know what to call them, like you have replenished ships basically, but after you spend, I believe it's 3 of them, then it's game over and you have the option of starting again at the beginning or from the most recent wave that you completed. So because I'm a weirdo, I feel like if I don't make it all the way through from the beginning and complete all waves, I don't feel like I'm doing it right, so I end up quitting out and starting over again. But, you know, that's just me. You can continue from the start of a wave if you want. But again, if you're going for that high score, you don't really want to start from the wave that you last were alive on, because you don't have the chance to build the combo like you did from the waves before because you died. So getting through levels all together on all the waves without dying and keeping that combo going is going to take a lot of hard work, but I know people are going to be really into doing that, and I'm excited to see just how crazy the scores get with this stuff. Depending on how you do in levels, you can eventually unlock challenge stages, which are in a separate section, and those are really, really challenging levels with way more waves to them and a lot more enemies in those waves. And then on top of that, you can get the endless mode, so you can go into a level and just see how long you can last, how far can you make it in, and what kind of score you can rack up. So again, for those that are following leaderboards, that should be really appealing to them, because you can go as long as you can stay alive, as long as you can maneuver through a level. So again, that's going to be another really awesome way to see just how good people get at this game. Based on other games that are kind of similar to this one, you're probably imagining a soundtrack that has like a very hard bass loop to it, like a very beat-driven experience. And the music does have a beat, but it's a much more like, it's tough to describe, maybe more chill, more atmospheric, more, I don't want to say laid back, because it's not laid back, but just more like chill vibe to it. But there is a beat there, something, you know, to keep you going through levels. I think it fits well. I think it's it was a different approach from what I was expecting, and I really liked it. It kind of blends into the background, which I feel like is a good thing, because you're getting so zoned in on the gameplay and staying alive that the beat of the music, you don't want it blasting in your face. So it worked for me. I really enjoyed it. As far as negatives go, I mean, you know, me personally, I'm not bothered by really too much at all, but I think there might be a couple areas that might bother some people. One of the controls for the ship is a flip your ship button, so you hit the button to flip your ship from going left to right or from right to left. You don't just move the joystick left or right to turn your ship in that direction. So if you press left on the joystick and your ship is facing right, it's going to continue to face right as you're flying to the left. So you can shoot the enemies on that side. You have to hit the flip button to change the way your ship is facing to shoot those enemies. So I'm sure some people might complain about that, or you know, takes a little bit of time to get used to. And then on top of that, the other shoulder button is like it's like a boost button that lets you get out of an area if you're really in trouble. If you need to squeeze through an area really quickly, you can hit the boost button and get out of it. That has to recharge. But early on in the controls when I was playing, I would want, in my mind, I would think both shoulder buttons were the flip button. So I'd want to flip to the right, so I'd hit the right shoulder button, but that would make me boost into a whole group of enemies. But not a major issue at all. You know, all it took was like an hour with the game, and I was completely fine. But I can imagine that's going to stick with some people in the beginning. And then on top of that, the visuals might not be what you expect from this type of game. They're very colorful, which I think fits well on a Nintendo system. But they're kind of, I guess, fun. They're just fun and colorful. They're not like futuristic, like something you see in Geometry Wars, and they're not flashy and they're not crazy. I mean, there is a lot going on, but it's, you know, pretty simple shapes and pretty simple designs and colors. And I think that works well for what's going on in the game as far as keeping track of everything on screen. But I could see, like, the color scheme and the design turning some people off, at least when it comes to visuals. But the important part for me is they're serviceable and they get the job done. And I don't mind the visuals at all. Again, I'm just saying I think some people might take issue with that stuff. So yeah, Graceful Explosion Machine. It's pretty awesome. I really like it. It's one of those games, I've said this on the podcast when I was talking about impressions, but I said it's one of those games where you finish up a level and you're like, oh, one more level. I want to do one more level. Or you're in a level and you die on a wave and you're like, I want to give it one more try. And you know, your planned 15 minutes of staying up late turns into like 2 hours and you just keep going. And that same thing is going to come up when the leaderboards are really fired up, because you're going to be like, oh, one more round, I know I could beat that guy. So it's that, you know, that's one of the highest compliments I think you can play a game. It's the type of game that you don't want to put down. It's the type of game that keeps bringing you back, and the time just kind of disappears as you're playing, and you look up at the clock and you're like, oh my god, what happened? Where'd all the time go? So don't take the approach like I was taking before. Don't sleep on this game. It's very worthy of your attention. It's another awesome addition to the Switch eShop. It's exclusive to this system for a certain amount of time. I don't know what the time is, but hop on it, check it out. I mean, hopefully, like I said, everything I had to say has convinced you that it's worth your time, and the footage you enjoyed seeing it. But yeah, it's a blast. It's a ton of fun. So check it out. Hey guys, RMC here from Go Nintendo. If you like what you saw in the video, why don't you give us a thumbs up and maybe even subscribe? We'd love to have you. If you want to see what else we're up to, you can check out GoNintendo.com for 24-hour Nintendo news. You can visit us on Facebook at Facebook.com/GoNintendo. You can check us out on Twitter at Twitter.com/GoNintendoTweet. And we're even over on Instagram at Instagram.com/GoNintendo. I put all the links in the description just to make it easier for you guys to follow. Thanks a lot.